Hello, everyone. Welcome to Two Hit KO episode 11. I am your host, OGalbina, joined by my co-host over to the left, King L5. Say hello.
Yep, that's me.
And we're joined today with our guest, ADV connoisseur, or us connoisseur, I'd say Hoenn connoisseur in general, Mr. Kaz. Do you want to introduce yourself, kind of give yourself a background, your draft history, all that little stuff?
Hey everyone, my name's Kaz. I've been playing draft pretty much since its inception. We'll get into it later, but I had probably my peak in around 2018, 2019, 2020. For a long time, I was very big into ORAS, and then more recently, in the last 4 years or so, alongside Keegan, we've built a very bustling ADV draft community that we're very proud of. And that's basically kind of what I've been up to. So yeah.
The old gen guy. And yeah, that's going to be the kind of... Yeah, it's going to be the kind of discussion today. Is a lot of old gen stuff, a little bit of ORAS, but mostly a lot of ADV, whether it be upcoming tournaments or tournaments that have just recently ended and things of the sort. But really quick, before we get into all that stuff, we're going to kind of just go ahead and jump right into the news, as I have to always adjust my cropping as we go here. First up, we have Draft League World Cup. This is your area. Mr. L5 is the only person in this call playing. Do you want to give us a rundown on what just recently happened, what we're looking going into this week?
Yeah, so the top 8 has been finalized. The play-ins concluded, and it results in UK and US West making it out predictably. But and these top 8 teams, they're all pretty good. The main surprising ones to see here is going to be China and Bangladesh. I think those two are ones that I did not predict to be in the top 8, and they're taking the spots of US Northeast, who went out in the pools, and US, South or Midwest? One of those. One of the US teams missed out.
US Midwest, because South is up here.
Yeah, Midwest.
Yeah, so, is your biggest op playing this week for Team China? Have they played yet?
My biggest op?
Yeah, no, Slowpoke fan? Oh, man. Damn it.
No, we tight.
We're cool now. All right.
I actually did put Team China last out of all of the teams in my power rankings video, mostly because I don't really know any of these players, and I didn't think their drafts were very good, so can you blame me? But they've been piping up, so good to see them in the top 8.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, definitely cool. And then you guys are playing Canada, right? Obviously we're recording
this. Is a rematch.
This is for next week, correct?
This is current week.
Oh, this is current week. Okay. Have you guys played any games, or all of them being played on Sunday? We're recording this on Saturday, 4th wall break.
So 2 games have been played. We're down 0-2. Unlucky, right? One of the games was really close, at least.
Okay.
But we are down 0-2. I do play Mount tomorrow, so that's going to be a good game.
2 Wi-Fi warriors going at it. Look at you guys.
That's what they say.
Speaking of Wi-Fi warriors, obviously we have the BBR starting up. Oops. And they're all the same league at this point. But we have the PBR starting up here. You can obviously see King L5 got 1 whole like on his YouTube video. Therefore, he's playing Wi-Fi. But we have a pretty fun roster this time around. We did just recently have the draft stream. Today, as of recording this, it'll be a couple days, for you guys. But some pretty fun teams. I know you're planning on doing a stream. It'll probably already have happened by the time we stream this. So go check out the VOD of L5 doing some power rankings and things of the sort. I'll be doing watch-throughs. I'm not playing this season. Mostly, I'll skip order in this, by the way, because I feel like this just kind of fits in perfectly. We still have the SPL starting, which is Shuckle Premier League. This is a league run by Pokegame and Shuckle, kind of the other big league going on right now. And it's going to be VGC, and I'll be playing in that. So not my forte or my biggest cup of tea. It's definitely a bit of a trip building for it and preparing for it. I'll lose games and have no fucking clue why, and it makes me so mad in the mocks. I've been getting so frustrated in mocks because Jaber and Hopeless have mostly been helping me, and they'll ask me, they'll be like, "Why did you do that?" I'd be like, "I genuinely don't fucking know, dude. I don't know what's happening at all." At least after a mock in singles, I can be like, I know where I fucked up. That was stupid. This, I'm like, I don't know what I did wrong. Yeah. So it'll be a fun little experiment and journey. We also have
doubles
DP.
Is weird because real quick, doubles is weird because the momentum can swing so fast. You're up 4-2, and sometimes it doesn't even matter.
No,
you can turn anything
on lead immediately. You will lose 30% of games. It's fucked. If you just lead wrong, it's so stressful, and especially being that it's best of 3. Everything can tarot, which I'm not saying that's unbalanced, but it is way different, right, than what we're used to.
There's like some mocks that I was watching where it's like a completely one position, but then that goddamn Milotic, oh my god, just 1v9s.
Dude, that pissed me off. And again, stupid shit, like it runs coil hypnosis because it can. Because it can just redirect and get 73 free turns. Oh, it doubles. You make me upset. But yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be a nice little change of pace. And I'll still be doing fun single stuff on the side, on here, doing a lot of watch through stuff for BBR. And it's still watching and kind of like having FOMO because I do want to play singles. Just don't have the time to play both. We also have DPL Captain apps out right now, correct? How long are those out till?
Those are out until this upcoming Sunday.
Oh,
so
just about half week then.
If anyone watching is interested at all at captaining in like one of the big team tours, this is your chance. Go ahead, sign up.
Speaking of big tournaments, we have Kaz's time on the floor. We have not only the announcement of Emerald Open coming back, it's been announced to be coming back. It's a yearly tournament, but we also have this cool new announcement from you guys in like an ADV draft circuit. Do you want to kind of like explain what this is for us, Kaz?
All right. So the situation is, for a long time, the only major ADV draft event was my own tournament that I run with Keegan called the Emerald Open, and we would run that annually from 2021 up until 2024. Each year, the signups increased significantly, but it wasn't until this past year, 2024, where a lot of other people took it upon themselves to start making their own leagues. And in general, the interest has just gotten a lot larger. And what we ended up putting together is a circuit. This is mostly spearheaded by Scraff, who is done a huge amount for the community in this past year. But the draft circuit is essentially my tournament will be first, and then there are 3 other ones. There's the it's V3. It's like Void Vraft Vol Tournament or something like that.
Volta's Vraft Vol Tournament is what it says on the screen right now. Jesus.
Yeah, in shorthand, like we just call it V3 because it's faster. There's the Zinc Tractful League, and then ADV Revival will be hosting its own draft league as well for the circuit. Based on how you perform in those tournaments, you'll be able to accumulate points from winning games, making playoffs, and getting in the certain percentile of finalists, and then also more for winning the whole thing. And then at the end, the top 16 players that have the most points will end up going into a double elimination 6-team bracket at the end. There's money at stake. There'll be memorabilia, prizes, all sorts of things that you can get. You'll get your name on some cool graphics and all sorts of great things. But basically there's going to be events all year. It's going to culminate into a big event in the end, and we're just going to keep running the circuit in cycle for as long as we do it.
Just got a free Red Bull ad there at the end, free advertisement from Red Bull. But that's definitely really exciting. I think we'll talk about it a lot more later in the podcast, but ADV is it's always been like a popular old gen format. People loved ADVOU and stuff like that, and still play it pretty considerably. But like the draft scene of it has like absolutely exploded. I'd say it's even like on par with like, your current modern old gens, I guess is the way of saying it, like your Oras Usum type thing. And it's really definitely blown up, especially since I played in my first Emerald Open. There's a ton more out there, which is definitely really cool. So we'll obviously talk about that a little bit more later on. As for jumping back to the Wi-Fi stuff, we obviously did have BBL finals. I can kind of plug myself and pat myself on the back a little bit. And pat L5 on the back, as he helped a ton this season in this game in general. But we did end up winning BBL this most recent season. I can hear myself. I didn't mean to do that. Honestly, I think this build was really, really solid. I think we worked really hard on it all week. I think I played that early mid game really well, and we obviously talked about it on your video, and we do like a actual replay review and kind of like go over the game and how we played. I think it was just that end game misstep of, one, not Dracoing when I probably should have, and not really like assessing like that risk. And seeing how healthy my Dialga was and understanding it wasn't scale shot, but also mostly just sacking that cornerstone. But thankfully luck favors the skilled, and we dodged the 3-hit Icicle Spear. We were able to grab a dub there, which was obviously really, really nice. And able to grab the championship against John. Definitely a really fun season. Despite it being Uber's a little wonky, I definitely feel like I learned a ton in the season in general, and it was a good time in general. So yeah, some good stuff there. And then we have GG Inc. Finals. Now, L5, you watched these games, right? Like, completely in their entirety, did a big old review on them?
Yeah, so I did a stream of all of the top 16 GG Inc. matches, which are all best of 3, so it was a lot of games. It's like a 5-hour stream on my channel. But at the end of it, the timing worked out perfectly, where when we finished reviewing the semifinal stuff, the finals was live. So we actually live commentaried it on stream, me and Burger. So we actually watched all these games in real time, which was super fun with an audience and stuff like that. And Wombo versus Zazo, these players, they're all old, you know? They've both been playing for a hella long time. And yeah, some might call them ancient. So, like, it's cool to see them here. I know Wombo has not really played a bunch of SV recently. But judging that this is a best of 3, including 2 older gens, you know, it makes sense that the older players are coming out on top. This is also like a paid entry thing, so all that money went to a prize pool, and so both these players making finals were guaranteed some amount of money, but the winner, Wombo, actually ended up making $192 out of this tournament, which is pretty nice.
Y'all playing Pokemon for free? There you go. He gets it. He's down. Now I know I didn't watch this entire game. Obviously, that did nothing. What the hell? I didn't really watch these games in their entirety, but I know I helped Zazo mock for Gen 8. Kaz, you helped him mock for was it also Gen 8, or did you help him mock for Usum?
I mocked for Gen 7. Yeah, this game that you have here.
Okay, there you go. And obviously this was a best of 3, so Zazo won one of these. Was it this Usum game right here? See,
so he actually got 2-0'd.
They just played for shits and giggles.
They played the third because they both already prepped it, so may as well.
That's fair.
This Sun and Moon game, like, the main mistake was letting Zard take all that chip. And then, like...
It looks like that shit won, too. Oh my god. If it wasn't,
well,
you know...
In this position right here, like, Beedrill won this, like, 5 turns ago. Like, he just got a state switch in, and now it just wins.
It did.
So, like, letting Zard take all that chip allows for this endgame to be possible, whereas that Zard was looking pretty threatening if you just burn the Crocodile and then, you know, switch back out, come back later, but maybe rushing it a little bit. And then this next game in Sword and
you want to give us the cliff notes on why each game, or I guess at least the first 2, I guess third one was kind of just for shits and giggles.
Yeah. But... So this one was like a whole situation where Zazo really wanted these T-spikes up from the Aselgor, but he kept getting defogged on by this Lando, right? The Lando was defogging? Yeah. And so, like, Shell Smash Blastoise gets a little bit of progress, and, like, but now Rillaboom revenges. It's choice banded. Bulu comes in.
And Rillaboom's really strong in this game, yeah.
Yeah.
39,
and
oh
so,
my
like,
god. Nothing.
There's a turn coming up where Aselgor gets up T-spikes, but he actually allows the defog immediately, which is going to allow the Slurpuff in without getting poisoned, which is a big deal because, I mean, it looks like right now Iron Flash Gaming is in the driver's seat, and that's what it felt like during the whole game, but that Slurpuff is looming in the background, and without T-spikes, you know, like here, this turn exactly, that turn right there, turn 33. Can we stop there?
Yep. Boom.
That's 34. But
beans. There we go.
So here. So it's Rocky Helmet Landorus. That's an important thing because this Aselgor has U-turn. It could block the defog by KOing itself with a U-turn on the Rocky Helmet. And what that does is it allows your Weavile in with T-spikes up, and Weavile can just click Triple Axle or Ice Shard. Ice Shard probably better because it's Helmet Lando, but you Ice Shard, you will kill something. And then what comes in afterwards, maybe the Rillaboom or something? I'm not too sure. But in either case, like, this T-spike is not coming off very easily. So,
or you're getting the T-spike off from the Slurpuff, yeah, if it comes in on that shard. Otherwise, it's a KO.
And so, failing to block this defog results in this endgame, which you're going to see. Just go ahead and play it.
Put it back on Hyperfast.
So, allows the defog, and now Rillaboom can actually switch in on Ice Shard, which is insane. And now Slurpuff gets its free turn, and it's over.
No.
Subclaw Mine, Unburden, with the defense boost, it's just Joe.
Oh gosh, yeah,
so
this just wins.
Reverse swept by this, yeah. It's Custap Lando, but that doesn't even matter.
Oh god, that's such a fucking two-hit KO.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious, yeah, just trying to get up. That's raps.
Yeah, so it's a 2-0, and then they played SV for fun, but because in SV they allowed Terra Latios, it wasn't really a fair game if I say so myself. Like,
Yeah. We'll just put
great start, right?
Mm-hmm.
Starts with a KO, and then Iron Valiant gets chipped by a Dusknor. Like, this is looking super Joe. Like, such a great start for Wombo, but there is a Terra Latios, so it doesn't matter. Sazlo's just going to end up winning this game, which sucks a little bit, you know? But
That's how I'm surprised. Yeah. Me personally, if I have a Terra Latios, I'm picking SV game too.
Look at this,
right? Like noise nothing.
Look at this, man. Look at Latios here.
Yeah. Oh no, Terra Grass.
Sets up Reflect. Ting Lu's gonna take very little from that. But basically, Latios just walls everything and kills everything with Terra Blast Fire plus Ice Beam. Like, there's nothing Wombo can do in this entire game. Like, he used his Valiant, like, to CC the Latios, bring it low, but it doesn't matter. It just roosts on everything. Well, recovers, but...
Yeah, this guy might be a little broken.
Why did we allow it? I don't know, man. I don't know. We've kind of gone over this. Like, Terra Latios is broken. We've proven it in many tournaments by now.
Yeah, well, I remember they allowed Terra Latios in, like, the summer tournament, and I had that in SV, and it was, like, one of the most fun times I've ever had playing Pokemon. In, like, those 3 games, it had, like, fucking 12 kills. Like, it was such a broken mon. Yeah. And Latios is, like, obviously not, I don't think more broken, but, like, bulk-wise, oh my god, how the fuck do you kill this guy?
I've said before, I think Latios is better than Latios with Terra.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's a better Terra abuser. They're both broken, don't get me wrong. I think it's just slightly edges out to Latios in my opinion. Just that bulk is so much nicer for these Calm Mind sets. That being said, Latios doesn't always need to Calm Mind, so there's that.
Shit, why did Zaza not pick SV game 2? You had this guy.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, if you end up losing, yeah, no, that's valid. But yeah, with that being said, we kind of covered all of the news and things of the sort. We're going to kind of jump on into more of that interview portion of the podcast that we usually jump into with Kaz right here. And the first question we always kind of ask everybody is, well, it's a two-pronged guy. First off is, what's your favorite Pokemon, just like in general, your favorite guy? And is there any correlation to that and your favorite Pokemon you use in draft? Are they the same? Are they completely fucking different? Are they like somewhat tied together? Or what's your answer for that?
Okay, so my favorite Pokemon is Cradily, and not at all related to anything I like competitively. I've liked Cradily since I was really 5 years old. I remember this vividly. I would take my red Game Boy SP with a Thanksgiving turkey sticker on it, and I would play it. I'd play it every morning, and I was getting to the championship game playing Steven before class. My mom was a teacher's aide in kindergarten, and I was going through. I was playing, and when Steven sent out that Cradily, I was like, I got the wrong fossil. This is the sickest dude I've ever seen. I literally deleted my file and restarted that morning.
Oh my god.
I didn't even put Steven. I just restarted.
Completely enamored by Big Cradily and his little wiener things on his head, man. He was like, wow, this guy's so fire. Oh my god, the entire save file?
Yeah. And then it's never changed since then. I like Cresselia too. That's a close second. So like on some level I go back and forth, but nah, I mean for the most part it's been Cradily like my whole life.
So fun little like side story. Me and a bunch of group of friends, including Kaz, we went to Toronto Regionals recently, and at one of the vendor stands in the regionals, there was a lady who said they had a Cradily plush, and we spent like fucking 8 minutes sifting through the bins looking for it, because they're like, there's no fucking way. There's absolutely no way that they have one here. We were right. There was no way. It was like a Zygarde. She was like, I just saw green. I thought it was that guy. It was so sad. It was so brutal. Again, you always hear people say like, every Pokemon's someone's favorite. Cradily is one of the ones before I knew Kaz would have been like, no, Cradely's not anybody's favorite. That guy fucking sucks. But dude, everybody fucks with Staravia too much every once in a while, you know? But yeah, that's definitely really cool.
Yeah, and then favorite mon to use in draft? How about that?
Favorite Pokemon for draft? It's definitely meta-specific. So I have like certain favorites for Oros, certain favorites for SM, and so on. I would say Oros, I really like Klefki. I really like Mienshao. Those are probably the big two that come to mind. I love those two Pokemon.
Is that like,
what
hold on
were you
real
saying?
quick. Is it your fault that I keep seeing so many Mienshao, Klefki, Torn teams in ORAS, and they're all terrible, by the
Yes.
way? I have to say they're all horrible. So I keep seeing them.
I don't like Torn. I'm not a Torn guy, but Mienshao, Klefki, I feel like in part my hog riding of those Pokemon was influential.
He's out here bouncing on it.
I have never.
It's
Dude,
always-
Kaz is Mienshao's biggest soldier. 1000%.
Always like Torn, Klefki, Hydreigon, Mienshao, like Dawn fan, like
Too big Dawn fan.
so not a
Two-turn
good team,
jump.
but I see it so often.
Yeah,
I
I
think people are
hate
starting
Dawn
to draft it a bit less, but I've seen that style way too many times for comfort. But yeah, okay,
I
you were
feel
saying,
like in
Sun and Moon though.
Oh, on that last point that you're saying, I feel like
Yeah.
what was strange is that I had that season 3 DPL team that had it was Hydra. I don't remember if Keys was on it, Infernape Guard, and I feel like that team did very well. And then ever since, like this weird derivative forms have come out that are just all shit. That are like bit spam, Hydra, Xiao, and like they all, and I don't like Torn that much, but Torn does find its way on those builds all the time. If you see a Dawn fan, I take no responsibility for that. I hate it.
I wipe my hands clean. I am absolved. I would fucking never draft Dawn fan. But what were you saying? You said Sun and Moon. I'm assuming there's a favorite ADV as well. Probably not Gen 8 and 9, but definitely SM and ADV.
For Sun and Moon, I think the Pokemon I've drafted the most period is probably Zeraora. Any time, any pick, if I'm pick 1, if I'm pick 16, well, I'm not going to get it pick 16, but Zeraora is definitely my favorite. I love Zygarde as well. There was like an early point in SM where like you could actually get both of those on one team. So I have several drafts from like 2016, 2017 era with both of those. I also like for a lower budget pick in SM, I like Persian Alola. That's my guy.
Okay, I thought, dude, you gotta specify. I was like the motherfucker on Giovanni's lap. We're drafting the normal type guy. He's strong fake out.
You say it's like impossible to get those two on the same team anymore, but we literally got that last EPL season. Aster J used
oh yeah,
Zeraora,
with the Megagera, yeah.
Zygarde, Necrozma, Skarm, Whimsicott, Ditto, and
Salazzle.
a few other guys on there. Forget.
You got that with Necro?
Yeah, that was like the best.
That's crazy.
Oh, with Mega Gyarados as well. That's the best Sun and Moon team I've ever seen. Like, it's not even close. It's just the best team that's ever been drafted, in my opinion, across any gen.
Sounds
It's
amazing.
just a perfect team. Like, I wish we could get that every time. Damn.
Well, I remember again. Now keep in mind also too the circles I was playing during like current gen SM and the circles you guys were playing were probably different because that was like right when I started.
Oh yeah.
But at least I remember when I first started and when like Zera first dropped. And again, this is also still when I was doing tier drafts because there was, like you'd see probably like in the tour scene, it was largely 100% points. In higher tier leagues, it was 100% points. But like tier drafts were still super, super common for like, more casual spaces where I was playing at the time. And I very often remember seeing Zeraora like as like a tier 2 guy. Like very often upon launch. I'd say for like the first 6 months, I would consistently see it like, they're like, he's like Infernape level, type shit. Which I always thought was, and again, I remember at the time, Hive Mind, league owner said it, so I was like, dude, hell yeah, Sarah's not that good. But then looking back, I'm like, damn, that guy's damn near Coco. Like, this guy's really fucking good,
I think he might be starting to become better than Coco. Like,
I've been seeing a lot of anti-Coco
I agree.
rhetoric. I've been seeing a lot of anti-Coco shit, mostly in Swish, but even in Usam, I've been hearing
Swish
people
for
shit
sure.
took it.
But Usam Zeraora is just so good. Like, it's just been getting better and better. Like, meta trends are favoring it, all that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, and being 143 base speed usually kind of just
Oh,
makes
yeah.
you good by default.
Generally
right?
a good thing to be.
It helps at least a little bit, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And then ADV, what's your big ADV guy? I know you're a big Skarm guy to my recollection. Is that the number one guy or is it something else?
In terms of ADV, when you go through the generations with like 6 and 7 and 8 and you play in all these leagues, you get a lot more reps in terms of the amount of times that you draft, amount of games that you play. Whereas like with ADV, you don't, even if you're playing, this is really gonna be the first year where like we're playing ADV all year, you know what I mean? So with that in mind, there's still a lot of guys for everyone to try, including myself. So they got some guys I'm eager to try, some guys that I keep drafting because I love them. I love Reg Ice. That guy is so good. I love Reg Ice. In terms of top guys, love Skarm. I wasn't. So there's been this contingent in ADV draft community of these Celebi truthers, and they've been saying Celebi's the GOAT like for a long time. And I was like, nah, this guy is grass psychic. Like, stop it.
He can't be good.
I drafted Celebi recently, and I'm a believer. I love Celebi now.
You might say a believer.
Lax had a huge 2024. I'm medium on Lax. I think he's good. So those are the top Pokemon. Raiku's. This we'll get into it later, I assume, but the Raikou stocks are on the decline, but still very good. I think the main Pokemon that are like quintessentially me is probably Regice right now. I'm a huge Regice guy.
I think ADV, part of the reason it makes ADV fun is like these like mid-tier or like lower mid-tier guys. Every subsequent generation, like literally Gen 4 onwards, they're shit. But like in ADV, they're fire. You know, like dude, every other gen. I don't even play DBB draft. We talked about it a little bit last podcast when Aim was on. I don't even play DBB draft. I'm sure Reg Ice is shit there too, right? But it's really fire in ADV. Yeah. I'm convinced it's terrible everywhere else though. And you know, it's not like a hot take, obviously, but it's just like kind of the fun quirks of ADV where like the really shitty guy. I mean, my favorite thing is to look at like 7 points in ADV and you're like, what the fuck is this like 3-point guy doing here? You know, but it's there for good reason, which is funny.
The last Emerald Open from last year, I had a team that I was like super happy with. It was like this fat balance with Blissey and Metagross and stuff like that. Really enjoyed that, but my run was cut short by a choice banded Gligar, and I was like, can I even hate? Like, this is cool.
This is raw. I deserve this.
Like, there's so much cool stuff in ADV that's unexplored. So, good to see that, like, having an actual circuit this year, like, a lot more playtime. Cool to see what people cook up.
100%. Right. Now, we have the Emerald, or Hoenn Classic, sorry. We're totally jumping the gun. Hoenn Classic, this is your league with your namesake. Do you want to kind of talk about, like, the ideal origins of that and kind of how that's running? We just recently had a season end. I have a movie going up, actually, tomorrow of my run in that league. But do you want to give the people at home a preview, what they can expect tomorrow, I guess, at least?
Okay, so the Hoenn Classic, I'm trying to remember when I first ran it. It was 20... I don't remember. It might have been 2021, 2022. But basically, this was already the case when Gen 8 came along. When we left Gen 7 and Gen 8 was the current gen, I was thinking, like, man, I must be getting old. Like, these new kids are playing Gen 8, and I'm like, I just want to go back to Z-Moves. So, I was already not playing a lot of Gen 8 and just waiting for old Gen events to come around. And then Gen 9 came, and I felt really out of touch. Where I was like, how is anyone enjoying this? And over time, I was finding, I mean, these older gens, I mean, people want to play the new gen, and that's generally what's played the most. So I was finding myself, I mean, I still really enjoy draft, but I'm getting fewer and fewer events that I can even play in. So I decided to make my own league, and it's multi-gen, which some of you may know, some of you may not. I know you guys do. That multi-gen was the wave when Gen 8 came out because people still liked 6 and 7. They were very popular DPL formats. It probably had a lot to do with it. But multi-gen was like you would draft 3 drafts in a season, and then the weeks would alternate, weeks 1 through 9, and then maybe playoffs would be a best of 3 or however the league you were in did it. But this follows a similar format. It's Gen 3, Gen 6. That originally was just Gen 3 and Gen 6, and we'd alternate. And then I added Gen 7 because I just got the itch to play it. And I mean, I'm not the biggest Gen 7 guy, but I gotta respect. You know, if you know ball, you know Gen 7's legit. So now it's just a standard multi-gen, but it's Gen 3, Gen 6, Gen 7. It's my namesake, mostly just because it's literally, there's no like overarching theme. These are the formats that I like to play. And so, and you're all here to play my formats.
Well, and like obviously the original Hoenn part was because it originally was obviously just ADV ORS too. Obviously, Usum was kind of tacked on, but you know it was a big Hoenn theme originally.
Yeah, when Usum got tacked on, I hit up Obi to redo the logo, and I added the Lunatone and the Soul Rock because like it's Sun and Moon. I thought that was clever, but no one said anything.
It was implied. I got it. I understood it. They're still Hoenn guys. It's a good way to like tie them all 3 together. tie all 3 formats together. I see the vision. I fucks with it. But yeah, obviously a really fun league and cool little rotating cast of people too. And you typically have some really good players either coming out of a long hiatus or, you know, stepping back into a league setting. So it's always a lot of fun playing in it. Shout out to it being the Zern League though, you know. What is that? True. Was that his 3rd or was that his 2nd this most recent season?
Yeah. Zern won his 3rd championship, and the other 2 are won by Zugaboo Royale.
And guess who played in fucking finals this season? Or no, did they play in finals?
No, they played
round 1. It was round
finals.
1. I remember because Keegan made a big ass deal on his stream. He was like, "Guys, it's Hoenn Classic Finals. It's Hoenn Classic Finals." Just bouncing on it.
He was right too.
He was right.
He was right.
It doesn't matter. It's the principle. Have some shame, you know. Yep. But obviously a ton of fun, and now we obviously also have the Emerald Open upcoming, which is, you know, that big ADV draft tour, probably the biggest one, you know, to exist to this day. Obviously there's others going on, but you want to give us a little bit on Emerald Open, and especially on this ADV draft database that Scraff made. I think it's a really cool thing. I have it on the screen for the people wondering, but it's pretty darn cool.
So you want to talk Emerald Open or the database first?
Give us a brief rundown of Emerald Open. Just give us a brief history, and then we'll talk about the database.
All right, so Emerald Open, Keegan and I have wanted to make ADV draft a thing for a very long time, like probably 8 years, but it just never happened. No one had the appetite for it. Demand changed, and now we have this. So it's been running for 4 years. This will be the 4th year. I always run it around my birthday, which is why signups will be coming out. From the time that you're watching this, they will be out in, not telling you, but it'll be soon. Yeah. I've been teasing GIFs in the announcements when it's coming. Just know that it'll be a couple days from when you see this. But it kind of follows a standard format. You're going to draft in pools of 8. Then you're going to be put in battle pools of 4 or 5, depending on the number of participants we get. Top 2 records move on to a single elimination bracket. You're going to go through 3 rounds until, well, I think it's 3 rounds. Anyway, you're going to go through a single elimination bracket till you get to top 16. Then we do a blind redraft, which is very fun, where the reason it's blind is because people still know who they're going to play next in the bracket, but we want people to redraft with a more competitive pool. So you're drafting through moderators, but no one's name is on the dock, so only you know which team is yours. A lot of people have a ton of fun with it. The spectators love it. Everyone's guessing, you know,
whose team is whose. Yeah.
At the end. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then it goes through a double elimination bracket, and then there will be a winner, and you get a lot of money because Emerald Open is very profitable. The last year had a prize pool of $740, and we've gotten more every single year. So I think first place took home half. So what is that, like 3?
Again, y'all are playing Pokemon for free? Yeah. I don't know, not me. Not the winner of the Emerald Open.
My knowledge, Emerald Open has the most money in it of any of these tours. I mean, some of these YouTube guys get together and throw 1,000 once in a while, but in terms of like consistently run tours,
or just like grassroots draft, kind of, you know.
Yeah, this is by far the moneymaker. So I think that covers everything. Mm-hmm. Now, as for the draft database,
no, go ahead. I was going to lead you into it, but you jumped right in. No, you're good. Right. You're good.
All right, this is my show now. So. I don't know where he came from now that I think about it, but I think he's, some of you guys know, friend of the stream, friend of the broadcast, LRXC. I think I met him through LRXC. I don't remember, but he's a Gen 3 Battle Tower guy. But in 2024, this guy named Scraff came along. The details of how we met or started talking or whatever are fuzzy. I think in general chat, he just started spitting out all these like ridiculously comprehensive like databases and screenshots of like, these are the 5 Pokemon that have performed the best over these past few years, or like shit like that. And then I was like, dude, what's going on here? And long story short, from there, he's just been aggregating like every single ADV draft game that's ever been played. He'll go, whatever league you have running ADV draft, he will find it, he will get your replays, and they will go in his database. And if you look on the screen, I mean, he has logs on every individual Pokemon and how they perform with a bunch of like advanced analytics. You can search individual players and see what their rankings are, or how well they do in tournaments, all the teams they've drafted. He even has these little like award ribbons that like if you placed in certain events, and you get a ribbon on your profile. So he basically is logging everything, which is very cool. I don't think we've had.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
like there's some deep cut analytics in this, man. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and I don't think we've had anything like it in draft at all. And so it's very fun, and he's been a very big gift for the community, really in general, that he's been providing this for us. And it's also helped us have like really good insights into the tier lists as we make them from year to year or even month to month. A lot of Pokemon that intuitively seem good, they have this theory going for them, move pools or whatever. It's like, oh well, this guy actually
this is
poorly against players that are 500 or better or whatever.
Yeah,
like we have analytics like that.
This is so on my screen. I don't know if you're looking at my screen. I have my we're self-reporting our own like ADV performances all the time. I'm perfectly mid fire 17 and 17. It has known aliases, so it has like when like Discord still had like the numbers at the end. That's probably how I signed up for Emerald Open then. But it has all of my tournaments. So Emerald Open 2, 3, 4, and then Classic 1 through 5. Has my best result. My first Emerald Open. It's like I think it's a movie on the channel. I came in 5th place, so I did pretty good. I think I got smoked by Auntie in like top 8 or something like that. But pretty cool tournament. Yeah, I mean, player insights tends to draft Cloyster 3.23 picks earlier than average. Tends to draft Meganium 4.54 picks earlier than average. Has drafted Salamence in 6 out of 8 drafts.
You do have a favorite Pokemon, huh?
Preferred, dude, yeah, and he's fire shit in ADV. Of course, I'm going to draft him when I can. Has drafted the standard team archetype 6 out of 8 drafts. Has my accolades. Hold on, I got ribbon. I might be 17-7, but I got fucking ribbons, dude. Look at this shit. Classic finalist ribbon. Top 2 of any ADV. This is actually so cool. And then I have all of my teams and stuff like that. This is the Emerald Open team, which I like, This team was crazy, by the way. Starmie Ments was pretty nuts. Like, getting those two guys together was pretty fucking fire. And you can see I kind of spam draft the same teams in ADV very, very often. And don't do very well when I don't. Like, I tried to draft Lax last Emerald Open, or EO3. No, so not last Emerald Open, but the one before that. And I fucking drowned in pools. Like, I sucked. I did not like him. He didn't suck. I just did not play with it well. And I drafted Metagross, another one. So, yeah, definitely funny? Really cool.
This thing that I've never seen before on any profile except yours. You have a ribbon with the silhouette of, I think it's red. You have a best friend ribbon. Because you drafted a Pokemon 5 times or more. I've never seen that.
That's so fire, dude. We're winning with the power of friendship. I'm drafting Ments every time now. I was starting to move away. When we did the little ADV tournament with Joey and Nexus and Keegan, I drafted Raikou, and the whole time I played Nexus twice, and each time I was like touching my phone, my computer screen, and like, damn, I want the Ments back. That guy's fire. But yeah, obviously, pretty. Oh man, I went 0-3 this in Classic 4 and ADV. That's tough. I think I missed playoffs because of that, actually, because I did so bad in ADV. Let's look at mine looks like. Yeah, I was gonna say I'll look up both your guys' names. I think this is fun. Yeah. It's a cool thing to look at. King L5. That's me. 7-2 all time, man. He don't play a lot, but he's efficient. And we're looking 1 and 2. You had a Ment EO1.
Oh yeah.
Went 4-1. Came in 17th.
EO4 team.
Yeah.
This team is so cool.
Yeah, big Poliwrath too.
I remember I swept someone with a Rest Talk bulk up Poliwrath. It was like one of my favorite replays from Emerald Open.
I like Scizor a lot. I think that's a sleeper ADV guy. I think that guy's so dope.
Good. He's so good in ADV. And like Roselia, by the way, I know Kaz doesn't like it, right? Kaz is always in my DMs like, Roselia sucks. No one should ever draft it. And I'm like, I think it's pretty good.
22 and 18, Kaz. Same top, dude. You and me, 2 peas in a pod. Same top finish. Yeah, you gotta separate. Which EO was that actually? Or was it an EO or was it? Yeah, I'm assuming it was an EO. If it was like that specific long ass decimal. EO1.
It says EO1. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, Skarm Bliss or Skarm Chansey. Sorry, not Skarm. The round 3 Starmie, also Demon. Let's go. Yeah, this is a really cool tool from Scrap. I love it looking at. I don't know if I have the same dog in me to get this detailed of analytics, but like I like to keep my own stats at the very least for draft league and stuff like that, and kind of look back and see what guys I use best, when things like that. Stuff like this is really freaking cool. Like again, like
next level.
Yeah, some of the stats they have for these guys. Let's just click on, and I'm sure we're gonna.
You can go to aggregate Pokemon stats, and it shows it like compared to everything else. Right?
Table of all Pokemon stats, draft stats, battle stats.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is really cool. But yeah, like fucking Raikou or something like that, and you can look at like so many different cool stats. Again, like turns active is such a silly stat, but it's cool too, right? Like turns active, it's 25th out of 75 total, which is hella funny. KD ratio 3rd, and again, you can like really see how these Pokemon are actually performing. From everybody, and I mean, it's a summary, but this is a fucking entire MLA format essay written on the viability of Raikou in Pokemon Trade. Yeah, so obviously some really cool stuff. I'm sure we'll actually have this page out as we talk about some ADV stuff later on, which is
yeah, for sure. We'll come back to it.
Obviously pretty cool. Now back to not necessarily modern gen, because this I clicked on the BBL stream. Who got Hoopa Unbound in round 10? But I clicked on the wrong fucking OBS scene. But back to kind of your history and draft. Obviously, we talked a lot about ADV, but at least when I like kind of got to meet you, or like a lot of your I don't know best term for this, fucking street cred, and you know like the larger draft league scene that kind of refers to you and Oras and this like crazy peak you had from like DPL 2 to DPL 3. Do you want to kind of like give us your story of your come up and your rise to power in DPL there?
Yes. Let me think.
It was DPL 2 was Crit City.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, DPL 2 was Crit City. I had. I'm trying to remember the exact timeline, but I had started playing when draft first started. I had met Keegan even before that, and we kind of started together. And there was a period of time where I didn't play at all. I didn't play in any leagues. I was doing my own thing, and I started coming back. And I think the league I played in was in the NBA back when Flying Bird ran it. And a lot of guys that we would eventually know to be top players were in that league, except like you guys were all like 16 years old. I think L5 was. I think you were actually in the off-season tournament that I had played in.
Off-season for what?
For NBA, it was like groups of 3, and there was like a captain who would draft people. Jolt, I think we played him. Our teams played in finals because Jolt drafted me, and I think you drafted like Hale or somebody.
I don't remember
really
this
old history.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is deep cut too. This isn't like 4 or 5 years ago. This is like fucking 10 years ago. You know?
Yeah, this is really old.
NBA
but
off-season?
Yeah, it was an NBA off-season tour.
I feel like that might have not been me. But
unfortunately for you, I'm certain it was you.
You're certain?
I smoked you. We won. No,
I have no recollection, unfortunately. The old man has lost.
I didn't play L5. L5 would have played Jolt, and I don't remember how that went. I don't remember. But anyway, I had Mega Beedrill and Goth in that. But the point is, people like Jack O, John, Hiker was in it, all sorts of things. And I did well in that. And people were like, who the fuck is this guy? This guy just showed up. I forgot who I played. I beat Golden Centurion Carson. That was the first of like 17 times in a row that I would like 5-0 him. I have his number for some reason.
Yeah.
He knows it too. That's why it's not talking shit.
Oh my god. I actually found the doc for the NBA offseason. I was totally in this.
I knew it! I remembered!
Oh my god.
He said, I don't forget a face.
What was
Yeah.
my team in this? Oh my god, Mew Kartana, Greninja, Gliscor, Mega Man. Okay, I actually do remember this a little bit. Hold up.
Boring.
Fire.
They tried to say I was crazy. The fans watched you. The fans watched you.
I was gaslit as the guest of this podcast.
My team name is not podcast appropriate.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, so I was starting to get some inroads with. Oh my god.
That's for the Patreon. That's for the Patreon.
That's for the Patreon for sure. I didn't remember that actually. I didn't remember that. Anyway,
2018 then.
so that started to, I wouldn't say inroads. I wouldn't say I was like really friends with anyone. People started to like remember and know who I was. And those relationships or acquaintances like sort of kind of became relevant as I was trying to get into DPL. I actually, when DPL Season 1 happened, I didn't even know anything about it. I found out it existed after it happened. And then Season 2 came, and there were a couple of captains who knew who I was, and then they would do the thing where they're like, yeah, we'll keep you in mind for the draft, and that like totally didn't happen. Which I was only upset at who was Specs King and Specs Tar? Was that Toxic Specs?
Yeah, Toxaspect.
Yeah, literally, we did an NBA team tour. Like it was the League War tourney thing, and I played for NBA, and Spextar was the captain, and I literally carried that team. And so when DPL came around, I was like, of course they're gonna take me. And Spextar was like, LOL. I don't think so.
No, they got look
salty.
at Tristan instead.
Yeah, look at Tristan and Will the most, and
Yeah.
I wasn't able to get a spot over them. But yeah, after that, yeah, unlucky. When mids comes around, certain guys are trash and they get dropped, and that's when someone gave me a chance. But it actually ended up being Crit City. What's so funny is I think I messaged Jacob as always with like, looking back, this was so dweeby, but I had written like this long like, I don't want to say like resume basically.
Give
like,
me a chance. Yeah.
It was really like this long thing. I was first in this, first in that. I played this. I beat this person, and I got completely left on red. He didn't say anything to me, and but I ended up getting bid on. So Crit City took me. This is DBL Season 2 in mids, and from there, I think I went undefeated in the regular season, and then yeah, I'm not. I just remembered where the story goes. And playoffs happened. I got hacked really hard against Mayo, but we ended up winning the series anyway against Zero Fox Given, which is a name that I think has come up again in Smogon. And then we played Crusaders. 5 in his band of lucky bastards robbed us.
He still holds on to that shit. I know it. He wakes up in the morning, Sunday morning, gets his coffee, he just goes, "Fuck Crusaders," you know, under his breath, and starts his day.
One thing I will say to the Crusaders' credit is they definitely had aura, because before we even got to playoffs, everyone hated them. Literally everyone hated Crusaders.
The villains.
Yeah, they were
no
definitely
shit they won.
This whole series was just hard carried by Dre and Count Riario. Like they just put the team on their back. Like I think Riario went like 1 million and 0. Not literally, but he had a very nice record, and then Dre won like 1 MVP. Did he? I think he won MVP.
No, he had a better record.
Oh no,
but lost
Zazo, right? Yeah,
he did.
But either way, he was the
salty
true
about
MVP. I'm not gonna lie.
I love them both, so I will not be commenting.
That was my first. That was
abstain.
my first team tour chip. I just got carried across the line. I'm not gonna lie. That's okay though.
But yeah, if I were to tie that experience to like my come up, like I said, I did on some level I did come out of nowhere, in that I was very good relative to the pool that existed at that time. So on some level I did come out of nowhere and just pop off. But also I remember vividly, because a big name on Crit City was Gypsy King, who went for 60K on that team. And I had heard about the legend of Gypsy King, and as many of you have before, he's very good. Depending on who you ask, he's the GOAT, or he's number 2, or whatever. But he had a very hands-on approach to that team. He was very involved. And I remember, you'll remember this, L5. Remember the Rain Dance Mienshao week? It was my first week.
Rain Dance
I played
Mienshao? I do not
with
remember
Damp Rock.
I can go look for it.
It might be snapped.
We can actually.
Unfortunately,
no, it's not.
it's not.
They were able to save a lot of like older replays. It's like a lot of Gen 8 and Gen 9 got snapped.
Oh no, this is before the doc linked the replays. No.
Oh no.
Okay,
right.
Kaz versus Rise Pool though.
Yeah, it was Rise
Rain
Pool.
Dance Mienshao plus what?
Yeah, it was. It was Rain Dance Damp Rock. Yeah, it was Seismitoad as the sweeper. My matchup was awful. and we cooked in the lab. But what really elevated me is Gypsy was very hands-on with that prep, and he was connecting things in my head, certain concepts that like maybe I didn't have fully together, and like he was pretty hard on me. I remember there was a play, my Mienshao had taunt versus Zapdos, and obviously I don't get a move to significantly damage that. I don't even think I had Stone Edge, but there was a turn where, because the strategy was contingent on Rain Dance sweeping with hazards, and I couldn't let Zapdos defog. Even if that would have costed me a Mienshao, it was worth it. And that was something I like was struggling to recognize at the time. This is obviously like 7 years ago or more. And I remember this is like on a Tuesday, so it's early in the week. This is my first prep on Crit City, and like a lot of my teammates are ass, so I'm thinking like it should be fine, right? I remember I didn't taunt the Zapdos, and I could feel, and this is a mock, I could feel the disappointment in Gypsy's typing. He literally, like, it's like the entire world stopped. My mock opponent like stopped playing, and Gypsy just said, "Man, ... You have to make those." And I was like, Jesus Christ. Come on. Like, man, I'm really fucking it up. And after the mock, we played it through. He talked to me a lot. But the reason I'm telling all this story, I guess a lot of the details don't have to matter, but it's fun narrative, is I think his mentorship, not only on that team, but in that moment, in that week, my first week of DPL, I probably became like I said, I was already underrated in Sleeper, but I think he took me to another level in that 1 week. I was so much, by the time I actually faced Rise Pool, I was so much better than the player I was that Monday. And I think that definitely was like the trajectory of like my come up, because obviously the rest is history. I went undefeated in that regular season. I actually played L5 in the finals, not tiebreak, but in the best of 8 series before there, and I won that game. So I had a very good season. Season 3 came along, and I think went for 23K. I was put up for 2 MVPs. Obviously, if you know me, you know I absolutely think I got robbed, but you know,
he's so fucking shaking his fist in the air.
I should have had them both. Anyway,
I'm taking a beating right now.
So after that, I think Galarian Stampede came, and I think that's where I went like 36 and a half
K
or
was
something.
Like 38. You were 38K, the most expensive player in the auction, above Gypsy King, above me, above Mayo, above II. Like, you were the #1 player in terms of like auction price.
Yeah, and the thing is, like,
within
what were you gonna say?
2 years, right? You went from a mid-season pickup to 23K to the #1 highest cost player in the draft. That's insane, right? That's just crazy.
Yeah.
He said, "Shit, you're right. That was fire."
Crazy rise. Yeah, that was pretty fire. The thing is,
I'm wrong.
I think this could be interesting to talk about, but like, it actually during the time didn't feel very good at all.
Stressful.
When you're in that position, it's a lot of stress, and it always feels like I don't know if I always felt like it was different from what how do I put this? There's a class of players that L5 is in that like obviously came before me, where they had, before DPL was like this main thing that everyone cared about. I think L5 had already won like a Token Minorities tournament. He had already won CPC or whatever. So it's like there are a class of players that had these accomplishments that sort of made them preordained as like really highly thought of before we even got to this like DPL era of like your DPL ranking is all that matters. Other examples of players like this, I think Hiker's one of them, but Hiker has crazy LD performances. II is a big one, where, and it's not to say anything against these players. I think all these players are very good. But if your goal is like, if you're motivated by glory to like get seen higher and higher in the ranks, like you're never, no matter what you do, it felt like you were never going to crack that group, because that's just like the way the community was.
And they were like the first like top tier players here, like that first upper echelon too. So like it's not even like, you know, like the people who are at the top of the metagame even right now, people still look back on those players way back then, and even if you like compared them objectively like the best players now, they might be worse, but you're never gonna think of it that way. It's like they were the GOAT back then when you first started playing. Huh?
But
It's
But
all
even so,
relative as
L5
well.
was still winning. L5 was still winning though too.
Yeah.
Like these players didn't like fall off and were
That's
still getting
true.
credit. They came
Like-
in with their accolades and then they were still winning. Like II too.
Well, in the first 4 seasons of DPL, I won twice. Like,
True.
self-glaze a little bit there, but
He said-
I was
Yeah,
winning.
true.
Back my way.
Now, that first one was stolen. That first one was stolen. The refs rigged it.
Hey,
He said bubble DPL ring.
hopping in Dre's backpack.
He had a bubble
But,
chip. Doesn't count.
The season 4
But the
one was
reason-
my tip.
Yeah, the reason I bring this up though is like what was so stressful coming up is that I was mostly motivated by glory. I was mostly motivated by the idea that other people were gonna be like, "Oh shit, this guy's really fucking good." He's like,
Mhm.
I was motivated by
The
the
validation.
idea that that I would eventually be seen next to players like you, and I felt like even after my big season 3 performance, I felt like I hit a wall, and I was like, I literally just kicked everyone's ass in this tournament, and then no one voted for me for MVP when I clearly should have won it, and everyone's still ranking me like 17th in the league or like in all draft, like behind players behind like Marvin Varvin. And I was just like, all right.
That's a fucking deep cut name. Legendary poll, Marvin Varvin.
So yeah, it's hard to reflect on those times because in the moment it's very stressful, and then after I definitely like took a step back, and it was hard for me to find the motivation that I had when I was in that pressure cooker because it felt like the glory that I was chasing, I was very hit in the face, like you're never gonna get what you're looking for. And I started to have to find different ways to enjoy or get motivated by the game. And I had a hard time. I think Galarian Stampede, I went 3-4, 2-4, something like that. Not a good record. But I went so much money because at the time I was very sweaty. I was an insane prep carry, which is still what I offer in later seasons, like Florida Man.
Yeah, that was your
LTP.
entire reputation. It's like, this guy will try hard, and he'll give you everything, you know?
Yeah, and
Which
I
a lot of
was
top players you
giving
won't get that
everything, dude.
too, right? Especially in older seasons, I think. Like a lot of times, if you're fucking raw, it's I'm gonna show up and grind for my game. You guys pick up the pieces and like do the rest. You know, like you'll get a win from me. You know, make sure you guys win your stuff. Not very often will you have a top level player be like, no, we're all winning this week. Lock the fuck in. Monday, I want to pace. Like, let's get it going.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so, like, for DPL, ever since, like, Season 4 on, I definitely had the attitude where it's like, my games, I don't want to say they don't matter as much, because, of course, you want to win, and, of course, I'm still trying hard for my games. But I started to feel like, okay, I could do as well as I could do, and I'm not going to ever get the credit where I want to be. So I'm at least going to honor my commitment of, like, making sure everyone else is ready to go, giving it all to everybody. And eventually came a point where, like, I ended up winning Captain of the Year in Season 7 for L2P. That was a very successful team. And I kind of felt like the reputation I had that was persisting was like, oh, this guy is a really good prep carry. The L2P had some of the best prep in the season, whatever. And I thought, okay, this is something where when I actually put my effort in, I get the reputation and the credit and the glory that I think I deserve. Whereas I feel like for my own games, no matter how high I go, I'm never going to get as much as I think I deserve. And it kind of demotivates me to try as hard for myself. And I still try very hard for myself, but just not like that Season 2, Season 3 era. I literally felt like I was going to die if I lost. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. It meant everything to me if I lost. Everything. I remember I got hacked by Mayo and Zero Fox Given. And I think I just laid on the bed staring at the ceiling. I don't know if I went to sleep that night. I genuinely don't think I went to sleep that night.
I don't think people realize
Yeah,
that the
power's
kind of pressure that those team tour environments can bring, especially on more
Especially-
competitive teams, right?
Especially if you're like the #1 player on the team, you feel like if you lose, the week's over. You know?
Yeah.
I've had to deal with that a lot in my years, where it's like, it's all depending on my team, of course. But if I lose, I know we're losing the week. Like, there's no doubt in my mind, even though it might not end up that way. I know, like, just that's where my mindset is. Like, if I lose, we're cooked.
Oh,
But
yeah,
if
I mean,
I
that's
win,
why you're
back.
that's why you're going
And
for the bag, because
it's
you're
not
a
reality,
win 90% of the
but
time. Yeah,
It's the
so.
pressure that you have. Like, I should be the auto win lock slot
Right.
because no one else
Sure.
is going to do it for me. So I have to be the guy.
Oh,
It's a lot of pressure, and like when you lose, it's horrible, man.
Well, and I
when
think-
you win, it's just expected, and that's
Yes,
like
you
the
feel
worst
nothing
thing.
for winning.
Yeah, yeah.
You feel nothing.
You win, it's like, okay, weight off my shoulder, you know.
Oh, dude, fucking, what do you
It's
call it?
relief.
I was the night I won BBL. Obviously, this isn't like to the same level, and team tour and things like that. But the night I won BBL, I was excited when I won. Oh, I'm not gonna say I was like stone full. Like, oh, let's go. I won, and I was like excited after. And I was like, nice, I won. And then I played my Oras Cup game later, and I lost, and I was fucking tweaking. Dude, I was so mad. I was like, that night, I won a game that I spent the entire week building for. I built for that Oras game the day before at work while I was bored. Lost like 1-0, didn't play well. I was like, God fucking damn it, you fucking idiot, you saw. Like, dude, I was tweaking. Like, I was.
Oh my God.
I think that just comes with the territory, and it's a shitty mindset to have, and I think it's like something that if you do it, you should work on. Myself included. That like. If we're playing just to like only like maintain the ego, and like you lose and you're like it's a complete crash out, it's not great. It's not great for the mental.
That's something I think I've gotten a lot better at recently, where I can have a little bit more fun with the game, and
I have not.
At this point I've won enough stuff where like if I have a really competitive team and we're going for the championship, sure, like I'll try my best. But if it's like World Cup and we're just kind of chilling, like I'm okay with just chilling as well. I'll play my game. It's all good. And then like DCL, we had like the #1 roster on paper, in my opinion. Like, and so for that, I was like, okay, we're actually gonna try to lock in and win this one. We actually ended up winning that, but there wasn't any point where it was like I have to win, and if I lose the game, the world is ending, that sort of thing. Like, I think I've gotten a lot better at that, and like innovating stuff as well, because a lot of times there's a big pressure to play it safe in the drafting stage. I started to experiment a lot more and like introduce some new stuff to the meta, like Urshifu Rapid, which at the time was a big risk, I'm not gonna lie. I just really believed in it, and then I was able to prove that it's worth more than it was on the draft board, and that's the kind of advantage that will get you a draft that goes 7-1.
I think too, it's an interesting thing to mention, because obviously you two are coming from a perspective of like players at the tippy top and kind of trying to maintain that status or like continue to grow it. The amount of stress too for a lot of these guys, like I'd say myself in this tier player included, dude, you get your shot too. Like if you're say you are that mids pick, I'm sure you felt the similar pressure in DPL too. When you got picked up at mids in your shitty matchup in your first game, you're like, fuck, I lose, I'm never gonna play again. Like this sucks. Like it's a weird like dichotomy. Almost like if you float in the middle, you're kind of good to go. There's like a bunch of guys I can like, and maybe not by name think of, but there's so many players who have kind of just been serial DPL, DCL level guys, and they're like slightly above 500, maybe below, dip below, but they're kind of good. They found their spot and their groove in it. But either you're at the top and you're like, no, I want to be a top 5 guy, I want everybody to think I'm him, or you're like, shit, I got picked up at mids, or I'm a min-bid guy, I'm gonna get 1 game a season, I don't win, I'm getting dropped at mids and not playing for the next 2 seasons. Like, it's just not gonna work out. So I always think that's like that's an interesting aspect to it too. It's either like it's that crazy intensity when you're trying to come up, and then that crazy intensity if you actually find the groove and become one of the top tier guys. Just kind of an interesting thing to think about, and something that you only really find in team tour settings, right? You don't see this in like just traditional, draft league settings, really. It's just a really competitive environment in general. But speaking, go ahead. In
normal draft leagues, if you go 0-2, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, you're gonna play 9 games, right? You're gonna play 8 games, just win the next couple,
In team tours, if you're like picked up at mids and you go 0-2, all of a sudden you're labeled undraftable, which is like so tough.
Shit.
It doesn't just affect your prospects like on that team. What's so tough about these low bid or mid bid guys is that like there comes a point where when you're paying like 5K, captains will think about like more trying to take a risk and pay low and hit gold on some unknown person rather than keep drafting like the 5K guy who's like okay and does mocks. So like in many cases, like you get your chance, you go for 3K mids or 5K min bid during the season. And it's like, if you don't win, you don't just get benched for the rest of the season, or you don't just get dropped.
Yeah, you don't get drafted ever again.
You get blacklisted. Like everyone from the community is like, all right, well, this guy is a known 5K shitter. Like, let's go try Skinny Lover 41. Maybe they're a secret god. Why take a chance on this guy again?
Well, there are people who have like earned multiple shots. Coming to mind is like Burger, I think. Is one who will probably get another shot, even though he went like 0-4 in one tournament, 0-2 in another. Like, he still like understands the game well enough where like people might be willing to give him another shot. And I think he went really well in World Cup this season. But there's not a lot of examples like that. Usually it's if you get picked up at mids and you do bad, the next season rolls around and they're like, who are we picking up with our 5k slots? We could get this guy. How about this guy? And then you look at the previous season, you're like, oh, he went 1-2 or 0-2. Move on to the next guy. Like, who are we getting? Who are you getting?
That means he'll go 0-10. That's the rules, yeah. I mean, it's a competitive environment, you know. It's just you gotta lock in. It's the same thing as like if you've ever played like in a competitive sports environment, if you're trying out for a really fucking tough team to get onto, or you get that slot or that spot to come off the bench and start a couple games. Shit, if you go 0-10 at the plate, have fun back on the bench, buddy, or have fun getting cut next spring. Like it just it's like that, yeah.
It's very volatile. It's like few games and they mean a lot. Like if you get picked up at mids and you go 2-0.
Yeah, you're fire.
Like, yeah, you're on a team forever.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they'll remember.
Yeah,
like, oh, that guy who piped up at
first impressions are crazy. Yeah, first impressions.
And next season you're gonna be like 7k, and like if you go average, next season you're gonna go 9k. Like, such
it's
a big
consistent.
difference.
Yeah, it's a consistent comp. Now moving away a little bit from the sweaty DPL scene, we did kind of talk about how one of the things you're known for is kind of being a big sweat in the builder, and really kind of elevating the rest of your team's prep. I know that you have kind of done what L5 did with myself and a couple other people. You helped me a ton, obviously, in past seasons, like my BBR season. You were a big contributing factor why I won and beat Aster in finals. You've had a ton of ducklings between me, Keegan, Jason, and even one-off helping other people. What has your experience been dipping into the realm of the Wi-Fi ducklings and helping them out and kind of trying to share your knowledge with, admittedly, a more casual, player base?
Let me think. So, the first. Me helping Wi-Fi players has been really the entire time I've been around in draft, even before I was playing for myself. The very first player I helped significantly builder was Crobat for the Win, who was the LA Nido Kings. I'm trying to remember. I don't remember the GBA season numbers, but it obviously wasn't the first one when he won it. But it was around. He played in NPL. He was kind of making a return, and then the more recent GBA seasons, he played like the last 3 or whatever. But I had met him through Keegan, and I don't remember what the server even was, but he happened to have his own prep channel, and then I helped him, and then he ended up 5-0ing Trev the King. And then after that happened, he was like, all right, I'm going to rely on you for the rest of my life. And that's pretty much what happened. So through GBA, and there were other Wi-Fi leagues that did like Ubers. I think we had like a Genesec team.
That was GBA. That was the last season of GBA in Gen 7, I remember. Because he had that pretty crazy run.
Third time.
Yeah, he had that crazy run of like 04 back to playoffs or something.
Yeah. But from there, I'm trying to think.
Not much in Gen 8, right? It was mostly kind of just in Gen 9 after that.
I'm trying to remember when Keegan came back.
That was Gen 8.
Like I did help.
That was Gen 8, yeah, because he played that season too. Yeah, it was NCP season something. Where Keegan jumped back into mods in general with his Cortana.
I think what had reintegrated me, because after Crow for the Win, it was kind of nothing for a while. What had reintegrated me into knowing some of you Wi-Fi guys is when I played on Crit City. That team was captained by Panther and Jacob, as always, who were Wi-Fi players. And I didn't even know what APA was before meeting them. And Panther and I had talked, and there was some drama going in APA that we won't get into, but he was getting my advice on it. And then he was like, you know what? I'm just going to make you mod. So suddenly I'm in APA. I didn't even know what APA was, but I'm a mod now. And I mean, the rest is history with that. But I had become friends with a bunch of guys who played Wi-Fi. Owen here is one of them. There's Jason, other people. T-Row I met through there, and it really just kind of through osmosis, being around the Wi-Fi guys, I was more tapped in. Then I would play in a Wi-Fi event. Oh, you should play, and then I do. before you know it, I'm kind of back helping people because I had essentially made Wi-Fi friends at this point, and then of course you help your friends, right? And ever since then, I just kind of help you guys when you ask, and then Jason has a whole like front office full of these underlings that ask my help sometimes. I don't necessarily mean that. I mean, that sounds funny. I don't mean that disrespectfully. Just in terms of they are Minnesota Lycan Wolves fans,
front office workers.
Yeah,
dude.
And so they'll ask me for help.
I want to hire Jason to just, I don't know, promote me. I need to hire him for something, dude. The way he plugs his front office and gets like just droves of people to join and give him free mocks it's a sight to behold. It is the funniest shit ever to me.
Yeah, basically just the way I see it is like, the way I kind of go through my life is if I'm able to help someone, then I will. And that doesn't mean I'm one of these people that like, oh, I have trouble saying no. Like if I genuinely feel like I can't help someone, then I will say no. I have no problem. But in general, I think I have a pretty high battery for building. I think I usually am able to make time for people, even if it's on my phone and just talking. And if someone comes in my DMs and they ask, oh, can you look over a matchup? I'm probably, no matter what I got going on, I'm always going to have time to do that for anyone. So that's kind of just how I end up helping a lot of people is along the travels, whether it's you guys or some other person. There are actually multiple people that I've never met. I have no mutuals. They just reached out to me because they heard me from somewhere and they asked for my help. And I have a couple of people that I help in DMs week by week that way. But yeah, I mean, it's really just I have my phone out. You know, we all are on our phones at work all the time or on the toilet or at lunch. And I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's like 15 minutes where I just give you all my thoughts on the matchup. You shouldn't run this set. It's not going to work. You got to think about how these things are going to play out. You're going to lead this. If you lead this, you're going to react this way. Like, ultimately, I can offer this to people somewhat reasonably easily. So I do. And then I end up helping like 15 people, and a lot of them have new Wi-Fi. And that's just kind of how it's always worked. That's just how it's always worked. So
and a lot of it's pretty low maintenance, unless it's me tweaking about a matchup, or if it's Jason whining until you jump into call with him and completely explain every line with him. But it is cool.
I learned that Jason actually, it's all a lie. Jason doesn't. I've actually got Jason to a point where he builds on his own pretty well.
Yeah, at this point he actually kind of is on his own, I was going to say. But it was kind of like when he was first coming back in Gen 9 where he was leaning a little bit.
The thing with Jason is that it was all actually a ruse. It was a ploy to get my companionship. And now he can build on his own, but he's pretending he can't so that we can spend 3 hours in call and shoot the shit, and he can ask me how my trip to the grocery store was. And I don't want to talk about that.
It's very Jason build, yeah. I told you, dude. He is crazy with this type of stuff, man. I mean, absolutely, dude. He's like a human. You hear this shit all the time, but like a human golden retriever in like every literal sense of the word. It's the craziest shit. But yeah, no, that's definitely.
I've never met someone who loves people, just people for their own sake, than Jason.
Oh yeah, dude.
People.
Oh, for sure.
People are magic to him. He loves humanity.
No, quite again, that golden retriever type thing where just everybody is like, "Oh, dude, that's gotta be my next fucking best." One of my favorite things ever about this is the Jason Glaze wholesome part of the podcast. This is so fucking funny. I forget which league it was. He was trying to get into some league in Gen 8. Like some showdown league, and they wanted more activity in the server. So he made a group chat with 3 random dudes in the server, and he was like, "What's up? We're fucking tight now. I gotta get into this league. You're my boys in it." He still, to this day, like 4 years later, will just DM that group chat every 3 months and be like, "What's up, gang?" And they'll be like, "Jason." Like, they'll get hella juice. None of these guys play Pokemon anymore, and none of them are in that server anymore. But Jason's like, "What's up, gang? How's my fucking SPL gang," or you know, whatever the league was called or something like that. It's the funniest shit ever. Like, I'm just checking on my guys. I want to play some showdown free for alls. Like, it's just hella funny, dude. But yeah, always a good time. Now, obviously, you've helped a lot of people in SV, but you don't have a ton of experience playing it. How often have you really dipped your toes into the SV metagame, other than just kind of vicariously living through people and building?
In terms of playing for myself, when SV first came out, I was still in UDL, so I played the first 2 UDL seasons of SV. This was before the DLCs came. So I had about as much experience as anyone else when it first came out. Then for a while I didn't play. I'm trying to think of all the events I played in. I played in a couple tours. I did this GG that we were talking about earlier. I made brackets, but then I got eliminated. I played in, as you know, I played in the BBR Summer Scramble. I made it to semis in that. So am I playing SV as often as anyone else? Of course not. I'm not playing it regularly like the people who are playing it like it's the current gen. But I've certainly played it enough to where like I'm familiar. I wouldn't say like I don't play it, but that I wouldn't say much more than that.
Mm-hmm. Like, you know what you like, Gen 3, 6, 7. May as well just stick to that.
Especially when you've been playing for so long, right? Like
yeah.
Playing for fun at this point. Like the glory days are over. Well, in truly.
I could talk shop. I could talk shop with Gen 9. I could commentate a game and be insightful. But like, I'm not winning any awards in SV. Like, for me, I'm not winning any awards.
I feel like this gen is I can say the same about Gen 8. A lot of like old head players, especially like the top Gen 6 and 7 guys, a lot of them stopped playing in Gen 8 just because draft kind of fell off, but a lot of like older gen players have not really dipped their toes into SV in general. I think it's just because it does kind of feel like a jarring different experience to the other generations, at least in my opinion. I don't know. I'm not an old head by any means in that regard, but it just feels a little bit different. I like it a lot. I think it's really, really fun, but it's definitely a different cup of tea.
I think maybe the big example of that would be iPro, right?
Yeah,
probably
like quite literally
the best Gen 7 player of all time. Definitely in the argument at least. But then you see him pull up in Gen 9, he doesn't even know the mechanics. Like that's just so funny.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing about it is like a lot of us old heads have. I mean, obviously it's in the name, but we've literally gotten older, which has come with like more responsibilities, less time, and whatnot.
Yeah, you have to actually go outside more.
Yeah, and so like it takes more work to learn new things, and especially when the contrast is so jarring with Gen 9. It's like I work full time and I'm in grad school right now, and I have to learn Gen 9. Like, why? Why do I have to do this?
Give me my Mienshao. What do you mean Mienshao's terrible in this gen? I don't want to play.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? Where's my Klefki? Give it to me now.
I drafted Klefki in the most recent SV draft I took.
I actually like him in SV. We were talking about that the other day, or earlier today in the draft stream, actually. I like Klefki. Maybe not the defensive piece he wanted to be, but he sets up spikes and he T-waves so I can run my hyper offense, but...
Klefki's a girl.
So it's a pair of keys.
Okay. It sounds personal to you.
I think I default to he for every Pokemon ever. It could be like it could literally be Enamorus, which is just a female only Pokemon. The female engineer. I'd be like, dude, Enamorus, he's fire. It's like saying bro in an affectionate way, you know, or dude, you know. They're all dudes, you know.
Like Ogerpon is still he to me, even though it's
true. Also a canonically female Pokemon. Yeah,
he's
dude,
crazy.
That guy's strong.
But then also, like, in my BBR draft analysis, which is just a Poke Rap, by the way, very fire. Check it out. But I just used he for everything except Meloetta, which was she. But Meloetta is ungendered, but she makes sense for that, you know?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
It's weird. Whatever.
Do you guys agree that he trans a girl?
No.
No.
He trans a girl. Stop it. Yes, it is.
Well, to be fair, she is pretty hot.
All right. I was like cute, but now I feel weird.
You did this. It was your fault.
Yeah.
Okay. The commenters will agree with me that he trans a girl.
Yeah, we can.
No, they won't.
Dude, we're gonna do a community post. Well, I'll do a community post to like plug the podcast the day after, like a couple hours after I post it on Wednesday. Is he trans a boy or a girl?
Anyone watching like draw Heatran with wide hips and put it in Owen's Discord channel?
No, that's okay.
That would be kind of fire. No?
I don't think so. I really don't think so. We don't have one of those. We don't have one of those chats in my server. I don't want one of those. Yeah. That's okay.
I was gonna say something about like SV in general, but I think the moment is past. So we should probably just move on to Waffler at this point.
Yeah. Do you want to So what is the Jimothy Cool effect, L5? What do you mean by this? You can introduce the next question.
So, ADV, right, has seen a massive popularity increase. Like, I call it the Jimothy Cool effect, where he just makes really good videos about ADV, gets more people interested, and then ADV turns out is actually pretty good. Like, there's meat on the bones. So, with this rise in popularity, it's seen like a really massive increase in Emerald Open signups, for example. This ADV circuit wouldn't have even been like a concept a few years ago. But now it's all of a sudden like not only like doable, but it's people want this. You know, people want to play more ADV. So, I mean, how's that really affecting you personally? Because you run the biggest Emerald ADV.
Or do you think that Jimothy Cool has kind of had that big like effect? We actually have a cool video up right here too.
I think it's not really debatable. He has.
Oh yeah, I guess it's Well, we have in general, we have Jimothy Cool doing like a cool like drafting type video. I actually have not watched the full video, but he uses Emerald Open tiers in this. And correct me if I'm wrong, he like gave a big shout out to EO last year, right?
So I don't remember the order that all these things happened, but he played in one of them, or maybe two of them. But he plugged EO3, which are the tiers he uses in this video, and he also plugged EO4. But he didn't play in EO4. But yeah, since EO3, he's been a reliable plug, friend of the server. I haven't been actually plugged into this world of YouTube at the time, so I didn't even know who he was. And I forgot who I was talking to, but they were like, "Oh, we can get Jimothy Cool to plug it," and I'm like, "Jimothy who?" And then they sent me his channel, and he had like a ton of subscribers. And I was like, "Oh, there's a guy who makes ADV videos." If I was the YouTube watcher, like if I was around when I was around 17, oh my god, I would have ate this guy up. But now I don't watch YouTube anymore. But yeah, I will say, really, I was gonna say. On some level, we were getting a steady increase in applications from season to season anyway, and there was definitely an explosion from Jimothy when he plugged it. And I was gonna say, you know, it's possible that we were having some, you know, linear growth regardless, maybe not as much, but then these things are still related in that whether he's directly plugging us or not, to the extent that he's making more people interested, that is still probably having an effect on the growth of ADV in all areas. So I imagine the Jimothy Cool effect was really always happening before I even knew who he was, and then it obviously explodes when he directly plugs it for us. As far as I know, I haven't talked to him personally. I don't think I've talked to him ever, but as far as I've been told, I expect that he's going to plug again, which we greatly appreciate. Thank you, Jim, if you're watching.
Oh, he's even got the Cradilly on screen. Look at that.
Hey, Cradilly.
I think he did that for me.
So true. So true. It was a deep cut reference. Only real ones know.
He actually watched this podcast in the past.
So true.
Kind of crazy.
But yeah.
I would say that he's probably the driver of a major driver of like the explosion of ADV participation across all tournaments, not even just Emerald Open or even just draft. I think he's really put a lot of life into it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
All right, now really cool.
Raikou.
Let me move on to the next one, which is Suicune, actually.
Oh shit, I can't read.
A little bit later, but Suicune. This is a controversial Pokemon in ADV. I think it was allowed in a single event that you hosted, and you decided, nah, this is too much. We have to ban this thing. Am I correct in saying that?
It's actually not a controversial Pokemon. Everyone agreed it's broken, even the people who allowed it in Smogon ADV Cup, and then they allowed it anyway. I believe
awesome. There's no controversy. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's no controversy.
Cool.
So we never tried an Emerald Open because the theory was crazy, but for a Classic, I think it was Classic 2 or maybe 3, we ran Suicune.
It won.
I don't... Did it win?
They have a summary right here. Yeah, I'll read it off verbatim. Suicune was almost universally banned in ADV Draft, only seeing use in one tournament to date. This is before Smogon, I'm assuming. In this tournament, Suicune was picked first overall in both draft pools. Both players made it to playoffs and met in the first round, and the victorious Suicune player won the tournament, Classic 3. It's not hard to see why this is the case, as it's an excellent defensive options that have the potential to wall nearly anything, and strong hits boosted by Calm Mind. Yeah. Summary written by Scraff. He said, I saw that shit.
Shut up.
It was broken. I watched.
But yeah, it wasn't even controversial. I think Nunes, who ran the tournament, was in that season, and we were like, "This shit is so broken." And then for some reason, like, well, we're gonna test it again, and it's smog on ADV. And everyone was like, "What the hell are you doing?"
It won't walk for the week. Well, yeah, I remember. Yeah, it won't walk for the week here. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the story of Suicune. I had to play against it in that season of Classic, and I think I actually won the game, but I had no business winning the game. But this thing is unbelievable because by its mere presence, before the thing is ever sent out, it invalidates like half of your team, because like so many Pokemon like can't do more than like 30% to it, even if they're choice banded. There's so any Pokemon that's strong. Like, let's say, even in a sense, if you were going to try and check it with, like, some of the stronger electric types, which there are only two, by the way, it's Raikou and Zapdos. If you're going to go, like, hard into them, and then your attack after... Because it's probably going to be on a CM, right? I mean, it could be on a Toxic, but probably a CM. Both cases are bad, because your next T-Bolt's not even going to 2-hit KO in some cases. And if it's Zapdos, you can take a very fat Ice Beam, and that's going to do, like, 60%. Or Raikou is probably, if you want to tailor it to check it, you're going to have an easier time, but no one wants to use their Raikou that way, because like you usually want to use it at literally any other way. Yeah, to win. But for most of the team, all of your physical attacking offense is going to like not just lose this 1v1, but just not damage
set up fodder.
It's set up fodder. Yeah. It's also faster than all these guys.
85 base speed is crazy, considering this ADV, right? Like, nothing's fast.
And speed ties Heracross, and all the other fights are below it. So, yeah, and I point out fights. Obviously, it hits at neutral, but those are like some of the higher base attack. The harder hitting Pokemon in the format, like, are typically the fighters with Hariyama and Medicham and Machamp and Heracross and those guys. The other types don't have Pokemon that are as strong.
We watched, obviously we did the little ADV tournament, and I remember in like the third place game, it was AIM versus Keegan. Keegan had a fucking Ludicolo. I feel like you shouldn't lose to this guy if you have a Ludicolo. And it's not that Keegan didn't like do anything right, it's just that there are Suicune sets that just beat Ludicolo. Which I feel like, again... Ludicolo,
we made it so that it was setup fodder.
Yeah, like that's fucking silly.
Build throughout this event. He unfortunately got like turbo hacks throughout the whole thing. Like his Suicune would have won. He should have gone undefeated if it didn't get crit, you know. But his Suicune just constantly was a crit magnet.
And then in the third, fourth, ring. Oh my god. Yeah,
in the fourth place game, he won with Suicune. Like finally, it doesn't get crit immediately in the first opportunity, and he just wins. Like
divine intervention. You have a Suicune, you're getting fucking punished for it.
The big reason why it's so oppressive is because water typing in ADV, the only things that hit it super effectively are water and electric. Both are special. Both you can just calm mind and they do less damage. Right? It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Then
and
water,
85
ice
base speed is really silly.
Most of the game, and like there's like a lot of teams out there that are like trying their hardest not to lose to Suicune, but I find that when you're prepping, you can either rely on Crocoon or Vincoon, and just between those two, you beat every single team.
Oh, 100%. Alrighty, next up.
The point about the Calm Mind. Oh
no, go ahead.
Yeah, just one more point. On the point about that Calm Mind, like yes, that's true that you get the Spadef boost, and those two attacks are both special. But like to a point I made earlier, it's also the case that there are very few Pokemon in those types that are even strong at all. Like at any like
grass
it's just Raikou and Zapdos. After that, they're all pretty weak. Yeah, I guess
besides Roselia, of course.
Yeah,
Roselia's GOAT.
But like, yeah, Owen will probably draft Meganium, and then it'll roar it at least.
Yeah, it still gets smoked by it, dude. Like, it takes so much damage from Ice Beam, and you don't do anything back with Hidden Power Grass, fun fact. Like, literally 20%. It's terrible.
Subbable.
Yeah,
because Giga Drain's a terrible move.
I ran these calcs. I didn't bring Meganium into the Suicune, because I was like, damn. It doesn't work. It doesn't fucking do anything. Yeah, I very explicitly remember this. It was my idea for it was I'm going to beat into it with physical attacks, or like sacrifice my Raikou to force it out, because there was a Dougie on the team too. Like that was the most impressive shit of all time. Dougie plus it. Oh my god, that should piss me off.
Yeah, that was the whole idea of the team.
Yeah, no, I know. I drafted Raikou and he drafted Suicune and immediately. He drafted Dougie, and I remember in the call he was like, "Fuck you!" Like when we were drafting, he was like, "Screw you, buddy." Yeah, it's ADV. So there's no like actual counterplay to that other than me like constantly doubling or like sub-salicking or just subbing, type shit. So
wow, awesome segue. Let's talk about Raikou and why it's the #1 Pokemon in ADV. I know you're saying it's on the decline though. What's happening to Raikou? Is it still #1, or is it just like the gap is closing?
So there's no easy answer to that question, because if you were to say what could we look to indicate whether it's not the #1 Pokemon, whether the stocks are declining, whether the gap is closing, it wouldn't be easy to answer that because its win rate is still much higher than the second best Pokemon. Its Fraud Index and Stomper Index are both great, which
the fuck are these, man? Hold on.
Awesome stat, by the way.
So I remember which one is which, but one of them is how much, like what their win rate is against teams that are 500 or better, compared to how other Pokemon are on average. So it's not just like, it's like relative to what an average Pokemon is against 500 teams.
Okay, so yeah, Fraud Index is like good players. It's 32nd out of 75. Stomper Index is #1 out of 75, meaning it smokes anybody who does not have experience in the format, basically. Okay, that makes sense.
It's an absolute noob destroyer, but it's still pretty good against better talent. A lot of the arguments people would make against Raikou is that like, oh, once you're playing against someone that knows what they're doing, then it's not that good. But like the stats do not bear that out. Like it's still good.
And even if you beat it, it's so restrictive in the builder dealing with this guy.
Yeah, I think it's. The meta is adapting to it, but in such a way where it's very warping. This is a Pokemon that you have to counter draft. If you didn't draft with this thing in mind, and what I mean by that is like either something that resists electric and has such a high SPDF stat that the super effective hidden power is not going to matter. Like typically that would be in ice, but it could be in grass as well. There are very few examples of this. Owen's Meganium is one of them.
That's why I was drafted.
Other people will have to draft like double ground, one that's neutral to grass, one that's neutral to ice. And so I think that there are players that are more cognizant of this and are drafting in this way, and those specific teams are doing well against Raikou. But most people are not doing that because they're not able to. There are only so many, Nidokings and Quagsires to go around. And so this thing is still dominating a huge number of players. Blissey was on my mind. I actually said Blissey because this thing can actually 1v1 a Blissey between like Rest, Calm Mind, and I don't even think it has to be Modest. I think after like 2 boosts, it like 3 KOs Blissey or something. Obviously, Blissey's going to switch out at some point, and it can pressure stall the seismic tosses. But yeah, this thing is really good. The stocks are declining in that people are starting to become higher on other Pokemon, particularly Lax, which had a huge 2024. I think it won a majority of the tournaments that happened in 2024. Yeah. And people are adapting to Raikou more than they were. In earlier tournaments of Emerald Open, Raikou would just blow everyone to pieces. But now people are better about, drafting with it in mind. But I think they're making the mistake of like, because there are people who now remember that you should draft Lantern or something, then it's not good anymore. But the stats are not bearing that out. This thing is still the best win rate Pokemon.
If you look at all the value metrics, it's literally first in every single category.
Yeah, and these in Scrap updates this whenever a tournament ends, the data goes in that day. So all of this is recent up to date data. So everyone spent the whole year saying, I think Raikou's on Fraud Watch, but they were saying this while it was still dominating. So I think there's open debate about whether it's literally one. Maybe if you're like a lax truther, maybe that's okay. But this thing is still absolutely a top dog. Anyone who says, "Oh, it's actually not that good," it's kind of a fraud. They don't know what they're talking about. They don't know ball.
They don't know ball.
Raikou is him, and that's just what it is right now.
Yeah, he is 101 constantly. I do think that's pretty interesting. This thing though, the average draft position, it being 6, it just shows that there's some really silly bottom end ones. Obviously, this means someone has gotten it at fucking 39th or something like that, if I'm assuming, if I'm reading this right. Majority of it is just it going 101. So obviously a really, really solid mod. Our last little bit before we get into the game of the week, we have the note here, playing SV vicariously. We kind of talked about it briefly, but I guess you kind of elaborated on it a little bit more, or we've kind of talked on it a ton, but kind of the fact that obviously you've helped a lot of people prep, myself, Jason, a ton of Wi-Fi people, things of the sort, but haven't played a lot of SV draft. Now, you said you could kind of hold the conversation on SV. Where do you think your SV knowledge compares to like the average, person who plays mostly, predominantly current gen stuff, opposed to yourself that kind of just, spectates from the sidelines and, helps people prepare for it?
Okay, I hate to be that guy, but compared to the average player,
okay, I guess that's I'd say we should find like an average metric. I'd say like let's say
J-Scurf,
top 5 J-Scurf. We gotta get a J-Scurf mention every fucking podcast.
Had to get our J-Scurf in.
I don't know. Let's say compared to... We'll just use Jason because we were literally just talking about him. Let's say compared to Jason's knowledge of the Scarlet and Violet metagame, where would you say you compare your own level of knowledge to the metagame, like its trends, what's, should make a team successful, etc., all those little things?
Jason's sort of a bad example because he's still yielding to me on all these questions. So I think he would admit himself that I know a lot more about him than SV. I guess to answer the question, to really get to the heart of what you're asking, because of the amount that I've built, I'm still very much evolved and tapped into the meta. A lot of these average players I'm building for other players and beating them. A lot of the times I'm watching them make questionable draft picks, questionable building, questionable decisions or plays. So it's like, in terms of my knowledge, like I'm still probably up there just in general. I'm sure I have comparable top player knowledge of SV. But if you're someone in SV who's like actually consistently doing well, and you're playing SV all the time, and you're going 5-2, and you're getting taken in DCL for 20k or more, and you're beating people, then of course you know more than me because I'm not putting nearly as much into it as you.
I guess a better question might be, how much do you think just like general draft and ball knowledge, for lack of a better term, is transferable throughout generations too, right? Because obviously you do have a little bit more experience in this Gen 6, 7, even ADV. Do you think a lot of these like standard like principles just kind of are constant throughout every generation, like play-wise, draft-wise, things of the sort?
So on some level, of course, some standard principles transfer, of more basic ones. But I think the advantage of having very good draft knowledge, either across generations or in one generation or whatever, is that you're better in tune to recognizing what principles don't transfer over. So, like, I have a better frame of reference for identifying the ways in which SV is different. So it's not to say that, like, ORS does transfer a ton, because I wouldn't say it doesn't at all, but I don't think it does that much. But
it's the most different. Right.
Yeah, but it's more that like having that very strong framework from building and going and doing the DPL thing and all that. I can tell what those differences are in a very nuanced way, maybe better than someone who's new. Just as an example.
I think maybe like some of the biggest differences for me. I mean, obviously Terra plays a massive deal in that, but in terms of like what typings are people doubling, it changes across generations. Like for Gen 7, you see so much double ground, it's actually insane. But in SV, that not really, right? In SV, it's more double dark, that sort of thing. Dark spam is everywhere right now. And so, like with that in mind, maybe I want some more sturdier dark checks, if I want to stay one step ahead of like the trends. That sort of thing is like a little bit different, where it really ties into metagame knowledge and like how you're drafting. But then once you have the matchup, Mons versus Mons, all the skills are really transferable aside from like maybe choosing a Terra type. Everything else is pretty transferable.
Especially in the builder, at least, yeah. Maybe play-wise, I feel like it could get a little finicky, but builder-wise, yeah, for sure.
One thing that I did kind of want to say by putting this on the plans, right, playing SV vicariously, it means you actually end up, building with a lot of different styles and different teams, and maybe some that you helped draft, maybe some that you didn't. So like,
definitely.
It's like, how do I say this? Like, it's like a big variety, right? Do you think that's like a good thing? Like you get to learn the metagame a little bit faster because you have that variety in terms of like what you're practicing with? Or is it like, I know a little bit less about, or I know a little bit about everything, but I'm not like an expert in any one particular facet of SV. That's kind of like where I'm getting at.
I think actually it's sort, well, I wouldn't say it's sort of the opposite. I think you get more of an understanding of a Pokemon when you're facing against it than building with it. It feels like to me, because I think when you're building with a Pokemon, one, you're selecting when you're drafting or you're helping people draft. In one sense, you're selecting for Pokemon that kind of fit into a mold of what you like about a certain Pokemon. And obviously, you had reference to what about people that come to help you that will draft things that you wouldn't draft, and you're forced to contend to build with those. And I think there is some level of knowledge you get from that experience, and of course, all of that is going to be valuable. But I think that you're forced when you're prepping against something, you're more considerate of the various different options that someone who is not like you could pick. Whereas whenever you're helping someone from the perspective of the person using the Pokemon, you're always kind of imposing the way you see it. And that could still be correct, or that could still be good. That could still, result in you winning. But you're not necessarily thinking about those Pokemon in terms of like all of the ways that they're commonly used in the meta. Even to the extent that you're trying to, do something creative, you're really like digging deep into the moveset to figure out if, Vine Whip is going to come this week isn't even the same as like prepping against a Pokemon against all the different things that it usually does.
Yeah.
Like even those two things aren't exactly the same. So
I
think you get more out of prepping against a Pokemon than actually using it.
I guess that makes more sense because when you're prepping against something, you have to be prepared for everything that it could possibly be. Whereas if you're the one using it, you have to find a set that's good into like that specific draft.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you think about more
say, yeah.
about it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's also some normative element to that consideration where it's like not only are you doing it to fit the specific thing in the matchup, but you're also doing so from your perspective.
Yeah.
And your perspective is not definitive of how these Pokemon play and interact across the meta when everyone uses them.
I mean, there's definitely hot takes I have where I'm like, this Pokemon has 2 sets, and if you don't use those 2 sets, you're trolling. So like, I definitely relate to that.
and you may even be right. In fact, you're a good player. I'm sure you are. But
some
you
of it's
can't
like
take
a little
that and
bit
say this is what the meta is doing, because it's a fundamentally different question.
Some of it's exaggerated for a bit, which is like I just think it's funny to say stuff like that.
Donphan gets 2 turns type beat.
or like I'll scream at people if they run Corrosion Glamora. Like every time I'll just scream at them just because it's funny. But yeah, definitely I see your point there.
Alrighty, so speaking of SV, let's go ahead and watch our game of the week as we kind of wind down the podcast. Now, This is a Draft League World Cup game. I will tell you, no, I'm not even going to say shit, because usually we go into these game of the weeks and I don't know what's happening, because I like to kind of like commentate them turn by turn, then something silly happens and I go, whoa! Like, oh shit, pog it out. But I did see this one. I don't know if it was on L5 stream or if you showed this to me in call or something like that. It was one of the two. But holy shit, this game is very funny. And Kaz gets to be the guy who pogs out because he hasn't seen it.
Yeah,
this is JCM, US West, Sammy C. I don't know what team this is, but I know this is Draft League World Cup, yeah?
EU West.
EU West. CMBC recently won the first GG Tour, like the summer one, and did really well in DFL, which is like DCL's Bob. Man, that sounded fucking ridiculous to anybody who's not like Draft League brain rot, by the way. He did really good DFL, DVL Bob, for cock, cock?
It stands for Battle the Bastards.
Dude, somebody watching at home that just started playing Draft a year ago thought they just had a stroke, by the way. They were like...
No, they thought you had a stroke.
Yeah. People are sitting there like watching it.
But it's like the step down from DCL, the big tournament DFL.
But anyways,
so Sammy had a good season there, obviously. So good players.
Such a good season. It was such a good season. I actually did a player review stream where I went over all of his replays to see, is this guy actually like cooking? because he was like 6-0 at the time. I was like, hold up, this might be the next coming of Christ. Turns out his building was just better than your average tier 2 player, so he was just kind of coasting off that. But
that's crazy that you undermined him there.
I mean,
I know you did good. Shit, I mean, it means you built better.
He kind of like, his build was better, so he didn't have to make plays, so he didn't. And I was like, I can respect it, but also I wasn't blown away. But this match, I was blown away, but not in the way that you might think.
No.
So you're gonna see these two Metagrosses here. It's a Metagross mirror.
Do we start? Or I'll put it on preview. Mm-hmm.
However, these Metagrosses were not created equally. You're gonna see what I mean in about 10 seconds. But
so it looks like it's Stellar Enam, and then Water on Hands and Moth. I don't think anything else is here on Sammy's team. Doesn't look like it. Right. The budget just doesn't sound like it makes sense, man. Lead Enam, lead Metagross. Good lead for JCM, right? Quillfish does come hard out, blocks the Intim, free rocks. Good turn for JCM. Thunderwave, eat it up. Pretty nice. Good night.
Ooh.
Just a KO. All right, 1 for Metagross.
Wait. Guess what he clicked?
Did he really? Bruh. Oh my god.
The Metagross from hell. Wait, he's not over. He's not done.
He flipped?
Yeah, he's blocking the 4.
Watch this.
Oh no!
Oh my god!
You got 2.5. Dude, the biggest Metagross super goop of all
makes
time.
Makes it out alive.
And then it's just at full. Or it's at 81 right now, man. It got 2.5 for no reason. We missed Wisp. This game was already over, but now it's super over. Oh, man.
Now it's like complete wraps.
Landorus is, out comes the Metagross. He's still alive. Let's go. The opposing Metagross comes out.
Shuka berry.
Raw. No, dude. Metagross was hoed. This is so sad. This was like the
terrible. This is me.
The greatest Metagross super group of all time. I mean, got 2.5 on lead and got out at 81. Like and it was just Rocks 3. It was just Rocks 3.
Yeah.
And he killed every Pokemon. Landers is still broken, by the way. Just takes 91 from Palafin Ice Punch, eats that shit. Just like it's nothing. Gets 2 helmets.
Metagross legacy game, like, on God.
Yeah, dude.
You know that? And
So
Mox,
funny.
like, they didn't even think this would happen. They're just like, oh, I get rocks up.
Yeah,
no,
let's
JCM,
go.
when he saw this matchup, he was like, lead Metagross smokes. And he
No
was so
way.
right. I'm not gonna lie, he was so right.
Okay, I think, like, lead Metagross probably gets rocks in 1. It is really strong here, right? I mean, there's also a Talonflame. I don't know, was this Rock Slide as well? No, it wasn't.
No.
I mean, you take, like, the Boot Straight or something of the sorts, like, you catch it with an Ox. Psychic Fangs does a lot. I get it. Maybe, in our mind, we think we get 1 in rocks. 2.5 in rocks at 81 with our items still intact is fucking silly. Like, this was a very, very silly game. Tough one for Sammy C. And you guys end up winning tie breaks, right? Was this clincher? No, this was game 1.
No, this was game 1, and then I was the clincher.
That's tough for morale, dude. Week
That
1
is so
or
rough.
game 1 of a tiebreaker, we just see lead Metagross get 7 kills. I don't know if we're showing up for game 2. I'm packing my cleats in my bag and going home personally. It's a tough one. And lastly,
And then Waffler of the week.
this is hard for you. This is hard for you, L5. This is the biggest A12 glazer of all time. We have to,
So
unfortunately.
I actually love A12. He's so good. But he posted a video titled, "Is Weavile better than Greninja?" And folks, you have to watch this. It's actually so funny. It's actually a serious video.
Well, I remember,
trying to
dude.
argue.
I like A12 too, but I was like, I read it wrong, or like read it as like sarcasm, and I was like, he was like, we have a controversial take, and L5's Play Chat, I was like, how's this controversial? I'm so confused, and they're like, oh, and you read that shit backwards, and I was like, what the fuck is happening? What do you mean? I was like, what is that? Again, love A12, no hate, but at least the way I understood the argument was like basically Weavile is stronger and faster and gets more KOs immediately. So like in a context of a 1v1 scenario where everything's at 100%, Weavile's for sure better. But that's just not how Draft League games play out, especially Draft, right? Maybe you could make that argument in like a Smogon setting, I guess. But not in not in draft, when Greninja does 8 billion things really well and can just win the game at any point with Big Battle Bond this gen. So I don't know. That's at least how I understood the argument. What did you think on it?
Wait, have you considered the fact that Weavile is stronger?
It does more damage with knockoff and triple axle. Greninja doesn't get knockoff and triple axle. So
true.
Checkmate.
Seems
but yeah. All in good fun with Mr. A12. I'm sure he was ready to be Waffler of the Week this week. I think we literally told him he was going to be Waffler of the Week this week.
Instantly, when we watched this, we're like, this is Waffler of the Week. 100%.
This video came out, like a week ago, by the way, too. And we were like, nope, we're getting him. But yeah, all in good fun, obviously.
He has a long-standing reputation of being a waffler, so he takes it in stride for sure.
Oh yeah, he's big the Diggers View propaganda, and there's a couple other silly mons,
A12 is the OG waffler.
Yeah.
Before God, there was waffle, and it was A12.
A12 wins Waffler Supreme for the week. There you go. But obviously that is going to be the end of the podcast. Oh, I did it again. I clicked on the fucking BBR draft stream. Who got round 10 Hoopa and Bound? It can Terra. But obviously that is going to be the end of the podcast. Thank you for coming on again, Kaz. Is there anything you want to plug? Emerald Open, app dates, anything of the sort to kind of get people ready for that going? Or is that just a soon TM, to come out?
I don't want to reveal a date because I've been edging the Gen chatters for multiple weeks now, and they're going crazy, and I'm really enjoying it. But just know that it's going to be, it's going to be the week that this comes out, and it's honestly going to be within days of this coming out. So if you're watching this, you need to be joining the server. That link will be below. Hopefully, if they do me a favor, you can join the server below, and you can just edge and goon, waiting for it to come out.
I regret giving you any type of platform. I regret giving you any fucking platform at all on this channel. Oh my god. But yeah, Emerald Open will be down there.
Play with me, ADV Draft, Emerald Open. It'll be the best time of your life. You'll never have the chance to make more money because most of you are going to be unemployed for the rest of your lives. And you'll love it. I promise. It'll be a magical experience, and you'll make a lot of friends and have a lot of fun, and it'll be great. Also, playing the circuit. You got to play in all the tours. You got to play in all of them.
Sure,
Sing Tropical League,
all the money.
V3, Revival. You got to play in all of them.
Oh yeah. So yeah, that'll obviously be linked down in the description below. I'll be playing it as well, so if you want a chance to play me, maybe we get matched up in a pool. I've actually had that happen a couple times in the last couple tournaments where like a subscriber's been like, oh shit. So I'll be playing in that one. It'll be a lot of fun, and I'll have my classic run actually going up the day after this goes up. So if you want to see a little bit of Taste of ADV Draft, you can watch that. You watch a ton of the other videos, that I've uploaded where we've done ADV. Or the little tournament we did with Joey and Keegan and Nexus, which is a good little introduction into ADV Draft at the very least. So, again, thank you for coming on, Kaz. L5, do you have anything before we tuck out for the day?
I mean, just going to plug DPL one more time. That's the big tournament that I run. We're going to start signups pretty soon for players. Captain apps are out right now. It's going to be a fun time. We always make sure that DPL is like a fun spectator experience as well. So we really try our best to make it an enjoyable event for everyone. Definitely hang out there.
And we'll talk about that a ton throughout the next couple podcasts. Obviously, there'll be a ton of DPL talk, and I'm sure that's going to be like, I'm sure that's going to be like
my life. DPL's gonna be my life for the next 3 months.
And I'm sure that'll be like a big thing we talk about. Literally every news section or literally every podcast will probably have a ton of DPL stuff and DPL games to watch and stuff like that. So getting it early makes you feel not as lost throughout. But again, drop a like if you guys did enjoy this episode of the podcast. I appreciate you hanging out with us this long. Some of you haven't done so already. And we'll see you in the next one. Later.